Agree with the criticism. I think that, everyone has a different connection to each season. It has more to do for me with generally making sure that this is a show where more and more people can see themselves. Shonda, I think she challenges me to think outside of the box and, think about what I would really want to see as a viewer rather than just writing what feels like it should, what feels like, what I think for us, we try to identify the moments from the book that are the most resonant and we know are going to be fan favorites, and then find ways that we can subtly, adapt them to the screen. There are a couple bodies of water this season that are from the book, and they are played out somewhat faithfully on screen, one of them, and the other one we've adapted and changed a little bit. So I'm excited for people to see.
Hi, Jess. Welcome to Indian Express Screen.
Thank
Um,
you. Hello.
Hello. Bridgerton season 4 is supposed to be set in, it's going into a Downton Abbey zone where we're going to be exploring class and, between the dynamic between the elite upstairs and the working class downstairs. So, how do you think that is going to shake things up in season 4?
It shakes things up in a major way. We've always had a presence of downstairs staff, but haven't explored their stories in depth. So this year it broadens the world. I think just adds a level of depth and texture. And in terms of the main romance between Benedict and Sophie, class also provides a tremendous obstacle and real stakes to their romance this season.
Yeah. And speaking of romance, there was a little bit of criticism towards season 3 that it's not romantic enough. Do you agree with that criticism, and have you kind of course corrected?
I don't agree with the criticism. I think that, everyone has a different connection to each season. And I think like there are people who really see themselves in the relationship in season one. There are people who really see themselves, in Anthony and Kate. And I think like there are a lot of people who really, see themselves in the wish fulfillment of the guy you've always had a crush on who's just friend zoned you, finally seeing you in a romantic way, And this season, once again, it's a different kind of love connection. It's much more about forbidden romance this season. So I'm excited for even more people to find the type of ship that aligns with what they find romantic.
Yeah, I think I'm excited too. Bridgerton has been known a lot for colorblind casting, but as a white woman, you've also brought a lot of your own self, as in your own queer identity, to the show, to the narrative. So, how do you think you've, incorporated that into the narrative? How important was that to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has more to do for me with generally making sure that this is a show where more and more people can see themselves represented.
Yeah.
I think Bridgerton is known in many ways for its inclusivity, and it felt like queerness was the one area where, this, especially in main leading characters, people weren't given the opportunity to see themselves represented. The fact that I happen to be queer is, a plus, a sprinkle on top in terms of I do understand how to write those kinds of stories, but it is not the main driving reason for that choice.
Hmm. You've worked all your career at Shondaland. By working closely with Shonda Rhimes, what is it that you've picked up from her as a visionary, as a creator, that you've also kind of incorporated into your own craft and your own vision?
Shonda has a real knack for telling stories that are unexpected, I think. My training as a writer is really rooted in structure and character, but structure in a big way in terms of, following the beats of a story. But Shonda, I think she challenges me to think outside of the box and, think about what I would really want to see as a viewer rather than just writing what feels like it should, what feels like, what should happen. And that I think creates much more, talk-worthy moments and moments that surprise people and make people swoon.
Yeah, that's right. So you moved to London to work on these two seasons of Bridgerton. Is that correct?
I did, yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
moved to London.
But
I've been in London for 4 years now.
yeah, and how has that been like? Because I'm sure it's like it's a huge shift, it's a drastic shift on a personal front. But professionally, how has that helped you to, know the land better? Because the story is from the land that you're telling. And, how did you get a sense of what that land is made of, its fragrance, what its history entails, and has that kind of carried that through in the show?
It's funny because Bridgerton is such a fantasy. It's also a fantasy of London. Like our version of London is basically sunny 365 days a year, which is so inaccurate. So in many ways, and because it's the 1800s, I feel like what has really helped inspire the show is going to museums here, going to the countryside and visiting the National Trust sites and, taking in the architecture from that era and things like that. But actually living in London, I think that would inspire a whole other show, but it probably doesn't translate much to Bridgerton, to be honest.
No, makes sense. And yeah. And finally, we're about to be watching season four, but how do you think the television adaptation has come far? Has it come very far from its original source material? How do you strike that balance between being loyal to source material and at the same time finding something new for the audience to watch?
Yeah, I think for us, we try to identify the moments from the book that are the most resonant and we know are going to be fan favorites, and then find ways that we can subtly, adapt them to the screen. And then it's also about because we have an ensemble cast, we have to do a little bit of tweaking to the story to make sure that everyone is served. But I think this season, more than ever, the book really lent itself to adaptation. And I think fans will recognize a lot of the book on screen.
Before I let you go, if you can just cryptically tell us a moment that everyone should look forward to in season four.
Cryptically. Well, I
No
think
spoilers.
there's, a body of water. There are a couple bodies of water this season that are from the book, and they are played out somewhat faithfully on screen. One of them and the other one we've adapted and changed a little bit. So I'm excited for people to see those.
Yeah, that was quite cryptic. I think it'll take a while to decode that.
Okay, okay, okay.
But thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to season four.